Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. One of the joys of living in Vermont is, well, living in Vermont. And for the members of the 251 Club of Vermont, the joy of living in Vermont means visiting every one of the state's towns and cities. We'll tell you how you can map out your Vermont journey and join this not-so-exclusive club in just a moment. First, I want to introduce Stephanie Young. She's the executive director of the 251 Club. She tells me she's only visited 198 of Vermont's towns, so her quest is far from finished. Welcome to Across the Fence.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
And sticklers of the rules, maybe, and also people who have been following the news as of last year know it's actually 252 now, but right. 251 Club isn't really big on the rules. So can you tell me what are the rules of joining?
Right. So like you said, we do not have rules. We like to say we are a club without any rules. So just to go back, the goal of the 251 Club is to visit all of the cities and towns in Vermont. And so how you go about that is kind of like a choose your own adventure. I had one member say that to me recently and it really stuck in my head. And what that means is that it's up to members how they choose to go and visit. We have some members who, of course, drive, others who walk, others who have ran through all the cities and towns in Vermont. It's up to you whether you have a theme. Some members have a theme like checking off the post offices or going to libraries or even breweries. Others do not have a theme, like my family and I, we don't have a theme. And then it's also up to members how long it takes them. We've had some members check off, and that's what we call visiting towns, all the towns and cities in less than a year. And then we've had some members take up to 30 years. We just featured one member in a newsletter who started when her youngest was in a car seat and just finished with her oldest now being married. So it's really up to members how they want to go about and complete this adventure.
Is there any eligibility? Do I have to be a Vermonter to do the 251 Club? What are the rules?
Yeah, so absolutely not. We have both in-staters, of course, Vermonters, and then out-of-staters. We actually have members that are all the way from Alaska, Arkansas, California, Florida. Really, anybody who wants to come and explore Vermont and have an adventure is welcome to join the club. One misconception that there is that you have had to already completed visiting all the cities and towns to be a part of the club, but that is not true. We have members who are at the beginning of their journey, middle, and then even some members go out and do it a second time because they have so much fun doing it the first time that they start all over again.
So all you need is to be on the path and you're part of the club.
In a sense of adventure, to go out there and explore Vermont.
Absolutely. And 2024 is the 70th anniversary of the club. Can you tell me a little about its history?
Yeah, so we're really excited that this year we will be celebrating 70 years. So we're going to, of course, plan some special ways to mark that anniversary. But yeah, we started in 1954. Dr. Arthur Peach was the one who created the 251 Club of Vermont. And at the time, he was writing an article for Vermont Life. And he got the question of how do you get to know the real Vermont? And so he came up with this idea of, well, to get to know the real Vermont, you should visit all the towns and cities. And he really thought that by going to every corner of our state, all the nooks and crannies, and that's how you would get to know the real Vermont. And so he proposed the club in the Vermont Life article. And it was so popular that the state of Vermont actually had to print additional maps because he was getting so much interest in joining this club. And another idea that he had too was to hold an annual meeting every year, and we still continue that tradition. We have annual meetings every fall. Our last one, we had Barbara Ann Cochran as our guest speaker, so we have a guest speaker there. And members really get to gather in the fall and just share stories and hear from a speaker.
And what got you interested in joining the club?
So my family and I have 2 children. We joined the club in 2019, and we saw an ad for the club in Vermont magazine, and we thought, oh, we should absolutely sign up for that. And part of the reason is because we love Vermont and we wanted to explore Vermont. I wanted to create memories with my family, and we really wanted to go out and be part of the 251 Club community and support local businesses. You know, when members go out to check off towns, often our members are going to the general stores, the museums, looking at covered bridges as well. And we really just wanted that experience. And our first summer that we did it, we had a great time. My boys and I, we went to different state parks. We checked out different watering holes, ate a lot of creamies and ice cream and other treats, and checked out museums that I don't know if we would have found that summer if it wasn't for us going out and exploring Vermont and checking off towns. And We hear often from members, and it's the same for my family, it's all about the memories and the journey. So we have these memories that we look back on that we just really cherish.
And how did you go from being a member to taking on the responsibility and being the executive director?
So the club, we send out a newsletter 3 times a year to our members. And at the time I was just a member, and I remember I received the fall 2019 newsletter, and I was sitting at my dining room table, and I read it out loud to my family that the former executive director was stepping down. And so I read that to my family, and they said, you absolutely have to apply for the executive director position. You are so passionate about the club. We have such a great time going out as a family and creating these memories. And so I applied, and I was lucky enough to be chosen to be the next executive director. And I absolutely love my job. One of my favorite parts is hearing from our members, our 251 Club members, and hearing about the memories that they have and what the club has meant to them throughout the years. So I feel very lucky to be the executive director of this great club.
And we're happy to have you here now.
Oh, thank you.
And among the 251, Vermont has a couple towns that maybe aren't quite towns, like Warren's Grant and Avery's Gore. Are those on the list as well?
So they are not included on our 252 towns and cities that you check off to become what we call a plus member. That means you've completed your 251 quest. And Vermont does have 3 Gores and 1 Grant, which essentially was leftover land that was left over when towns and cities were formed. And so a lot of members do add that to the 252, so they do 252 plus, but it's not officially part. Those 3 Gores and 1 Grant are not officially part of our 252 list.
And we don't want to make you choose a favorite, but is there a town in particular that stands out from your memory of going to the 198 you've gone to so far?
Right, so there are so many. Like I said, it's, we hear time and time again, and it's the same for my family. It's about the memories, the inside jokes that you have. But one that really stands out with my boys and I was we went to Plymouth in December of 2019 with the Calvin Coolidge Historic Site, and they were having a holiday festival. And it was that perfect winter, kind of like today, that kind of winter, big snowflakes coming down. And we really fell in love with the historic site. We had a great time doing some of the holiday activities. And since then, we've gone back to the site, probably the historic site, a few times. But that one really stands out. We just had a great time on a winter afternoon in Plymouth.
It's all about the memories.
It
then.
is.
And is there a town that's kind of known or understood as one of the harder ones to reach?
Right, so this is definitely a topic of discussion among our members, especially when we gather. We also have a spring get-together that we do every year, as well as the annual meeting. And Lewis, Vermont, which is in the Northeast Kingdom, would be the one that really comes up a lot with members. There's no cell phone coverage, so if you head up that way, you're going to have to, ditch your phone GPS, get out the old map. And it's one that can be sometimes a little tricky to get up to, but our members, there is a sense of community with the 251 Club, so members share stories and tips of how to get to some of these towns that are a little out of the way or hard to get to. When members get up there, they find it to be a beautiful spot. There's actually a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Refuge up there. But if you have any questions, members really do love sharing their tips and stories. So it's someplace you can get to, but it is the one that we hear is kind of tricky to get to.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you get when you do it all? If you make your way to Lewis and it's your last one, what do you get?
Yeah, so when you have checked off 252 towns and cities, we work on the honor code. So you do not have to prove to us any kind of documentation. Like we said, we're no rule, so it's up to you how you document it. But you let us know, and we send you a finisher's decal as well as a congratulatory letter. And then if you want to be featured in our newsletter, you let us know and we'll send you some questions and you can share your memories or tips, for how to get to Lewis, for instance. And then if you want to, you can also speak at the annual meeting and share a few minutes of stories that you have, which we always have some members who would love to step up and do that at the annual meeting as well. And then of course you have bragging rights that you have visited all 252 towns and cities in Vermont.
And you're still on your quest, so what town is next for you?
So we, like you said in the beginning, we're at 198. And our goal is to essentially finish our 251 quests by the time my oldest is in college. So we have a few more years. The next 2 that we are looking at is Ludlow. My family and I, we just started skiing about 2 years ago. So my husband and I were late to the skiing. The kids have picked it up and we're learning. And so we haven't skied yet in Ludlow. And we thought it would be great to go there this winter and check out some skiing, support the local, local stores there and businesses as well. We know Ludlow was hit hard by the flood. And then there's also a art museum in Reading, Vermont that we have had our eye on. So we might go out this spring and check off Reading, Vermont and look at that art museum. And it really is, we have found there's so many different museums and different places to go that once you start researching these towns and cities, that it's really easy to check off the towns and cities and have a great time.
Yeah, you're very strategic about where you're going, trying to hit Okemo now,
Yes.
now that it's winter.
Yeah, a lot of what we have left is the Northeast Kingdom and kind of the southern part of Vermont. So we had to become a little more strategic too than in 2019 when we started, and we would just head out to go get some creamies and swim and check off a few towns. But yeah, we definitely have a plan when we head out.
All right, and let's see, how long does it usually take somebody to complete it?
Yeah, so it really ranges. So we have had some members who do it in a year, and then some members who take a few decades to do. It really just depends how long the member wants to take. And we always hear, the one common theme I hear from members is that it's not about how long it took them to complete the journey, but it is those memories that I keep on coming back to. I think if you ask any 251 Club member, they have a story to tell you, probably a funny story of getting lost. They have inside jokes if they do go with somebody. We have other members too who like to go out on their own and complete this quest. So it's really up to members. Like you said in the beginning, we have no rules. We really want members to craft their adventure how they would like to do it.
All right, and we don't have too much time left, but when you're out on the road, have people heard of the 251 Club?
Yes, so it's fun to hear stories about it, or they know somebody who has done it, or they themselves are doing it. We also have decals, so a lot of times that will strike up conversation. Somebody will see it on your car and say, "Oh, the 251 Club, I know what that is." So we, being around for 70 years now, there are generations of families who have done this, and you'll run into people sometimes who remember doing it as a kid, and now they're doing it with their family too. So it's a great tradition here in Vermont.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today.
That's great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you. And if you want to join the 251 Club of Vermont, visit the website on your screen. It has all the information you'll need to start your journey. That wraps up our program for today. From the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX, I'm Jolie Whitney. Thank you for watching and have a good one.